and you choose your word to speak to us, the words that you want us to hear. And I pray for everything that you've laid on Phil's heart this week as he's prepared, that you'd enable us to hear it and receive it and live it out. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Phil White. I'm the vicar of Broughton Church. It's lovely to see you this morning. And we're starting, Anna started off last week looking at a sermon series called something about tips on living life to the full. And I'm sure all of us want to live life to the full. I certainly do. And these are just some ideas, some thoughts that we've had. And I believe God is leading us to this as well. We're also starting a series of 2-minute videos on YouTube, which we're going to be releasing soon, again, just to go alongside this series on tips on living life to the full. I want to start off by sharing just a vision with you. And I've had this vision to get a railway carriage, a redundant railway carriage, and actually put it across the grass at the bottom of the Canal Society. I've spoken to the Canal Society. They're open to the idea, and we're going to use it as a youth venue, etc., with a cafe at one end. And it's going to be, I'm just really excited about it. Your reaction might be, fantastic, Phil, brilliant, something new. Or you might be thinking, is he mad? No, please, no more big visions like that, Phil. By the way, that's fictitious. The railway carriage is fictitious. You might be saying to yourself, no, Phil, we've been through COVID, we're tired. We're struggling with all the things we're dealing with in our life. I can't take any more. And I know that I'm pretty certain that every single one of us here and every single person you meet in the streets will be dealing with big, heavy things in their lives. Each of us will have a number of heavy things we're dealing with. But you know, the good news, and there's a slide for this on the screen, is that in 1 Peter 5 verse 7, it says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. I'm just going to leave that up for a moment, or ask Ali to leave it up for a moment. Let's just reflect on that. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. But my question is, yeah, fine, great, it says that in the Bible, and that's brilliant, I know the verse. But how? How do we cast our anxiety on him? There's a man called John Eldridge, who's my favourite author at the moment. He's written this book, Get Your Life Back, and I've taken much of my inspiration from the chapter in this book. He lives in America, he describes having a number of horses, and they've scaled their herd down to, I think, 8 horses now. And I think, 8 horses? More than I could imagine. But he describes how there are mountain lions living near him. And when he goes to the horses in the morning, he can tell whether there's been a lion come through the territory. Because when he gets down there, the horses are strung up. Do you know what I mean? They're anxious. They're stamping the ground. They're vicious. He describes it as a hyper-vigilant state. A lion has come by and has frightened them to death. And he says what he has to do when he finds the horses, he just grooms them. It's like combing our hair. I know my daughter Hannah helped Anne to cut my hair recently, and actually you do just sort of start to relax and fall asleep a little bit. But it's the grooming, it calms the horses down. You know, what we do when there's too many things in our life, I think we tend, when life is just too much and we can't cope with the things we're coping with, we tend to reach for the glass of wine. Do you know that feeling of relaxation? Or maybe something sweet. I wonder whether for you, whether you can list on the fingers of your hand, just do it, you don't need to do it now, you can do it if you want, but just list for me, you don't have to share them out loud, what are the heavy things you're carrying? I'm going to represent my life as these rocks, okay? So you might have an idea of what they are on your hand, but maybe for me it's Ukraine. It really does, it weighs me down. There's where we're going to live when we retire. Now you might be worried about this. Anne said to me this morning, "Ooh, be careful, because what could I do? What could I do if I'm not careful here? Break the past, yeah." So there's Ukraine, there's where we're going to live. There's Ben and Joshua, my two grandchildren with cystic fibrosis. There's Broughton Church, leading Broughton Church and actually leading us out of the pandemic. And there's that relationship that broke down a while back. I definitely need all those heavy things, all those things in my life that are heavy. I need something to, feels a bit better. If you're sitting there thinking to yourself, Phil, I don't know where you are on this one, because personally I haven't got anything heavy in my life. Life is just amazing at the moment, and thank God for that. But it won't be long before you do have a glass full of heavy things in your life, trust me. Another verse, Matthew 11:28, Ali, please. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." All my burdens. Oh, yeah. But how do I get it? I've still got those burdens. And I'm sure you will have heard over the years, people say to you, leave it at the foot of the cross. Yeah, I'm not sure how. Or you might have heard when you go to a home group or a house group or a life group or whatever, welcome to the house group tonight. I know many of you have had stressful days. Well, let's leave all those things outside. That's easier said than done, isn't it? And I know for me that neither of those have worked. And yet we read in another verse, Matthew 6, verse 31, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." And if you notice the beginning of the verse, they're so busy that they don't actually have a chance to eat. They have so many worries, they're not even able to eat. How do we do this? How do we come to Jesus by ourselves to a quiet place and get some rest? Well, John Eldridge in this book talks about something called the 1 minute pause. And I found this really, really helpful. There is an app that you can get, just like Adi was talking about earlier. There's an app that I just press the play button and it plays the pause for me. And the basis of this 1 minute pause is this line, Ali, if you can put it up. "Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you." The more I have done this, I've used that 1 minute pause about 90 times so far. And I do it not every day, but it comes up on my phone twice a day, and sometimes I do it. And what it does is it just gives me a pause. It gives me some freedom. Each time when I press the play, or when I do it without the app, I have my things listed. Ben and Joshua, that bad relationship, Broughton Church, Ukraine, where we're going to live. I know what those 5 are. And so as soon as he says, Jesus, I give everyone and everything, everyone, the people come first, and everything, I give them to you, and I just hand them over. And even though it's just for a minute, it gives me a break. Now, when I hand those things over to Jesus, there's a sense of an emptiness. And you might be wondering, hang on, this sounds a little bit about Buddhism, emptying yourself, coming to nirvana. It's not. Actually, a man called Augustine, he lived many centuries ago, and Ali, if you can put that slide up as well. Augustine said, we must empty ourselves of all that fills us so that we may be filled with what we are empty of. All the things that fill us are my cares and my worries and my concerns. We need to empty ourselves. Let me show you. We need to empty ourselves of the things that fill us so that we can be filled with what we're empty of. And I'm just going to use my Bible as an example. Having emptied myself of the things that I feel heavy about, I can then let God in. I'm going to play the app to you now, if you don't mind. It's just 1 minute, and you get it's just a slide of a waterfall, but you don't need to worry about that. But I'm just going to play this, hopefully, through this. So just listen.
Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. I give everyone and everything to you, God. I give myself to you, Jesus, for union with you. I am created for union with you, God. I give everything in me for union with you, Lord. I need more of you, God. Fill me with more of you. That's good. That's enough for now.
I've found this enormously helpful. It just enables me in 1 minute just to put those things down. That's all it does. Helps me to lay them at the foot of the cross, as it were, to give them to Jesus, to cast my anxieties on him. That might not work for you. There'll be other ways, but that's one tip that I've got for living life to the full. I find it really helpful. Just one question to leave you with. I don't know the answer to this question, but is God more able to help me with the burdens I carry when I give them over to him, even if it's just for 1 minute? In my day, when I'm carrying all those things around and they're heavy and I'm trying to work out a solution, trying to pray about them, there's a tendency for me to be dealing with them. When I hand them over to God, even for 1 minute, is God more able to deal with them than when I'm trying to do them myself? Whilst I'm worrying about them, trying to solve the problem, are God's hands tied in some way? I say, I don't know the answer to that, but I sense there's something of that. So how will my little tip for the day, the 1 minute pause, how will it help you live life to the full? I think there's something important in it. John Eldridge talks about when he plays the 1 minute pause, or does the 1 minute pause, when he changes an activity. So when he drives in from wherever he's been, he drives in home, he just stops, switches the engine off, puts his head on the steering wheel and does the 1 minute pause. It doesn't take any time at all, but he hands them over to Jesus, and Jesus comes and fills that space. I know for me, it's been really important over the last couple of months. I'm finding a peace, and I want more of it. So I encourage you to do as Mark describes in Mark 6 again. Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. I was reading this morning in Lectio 365, and this phrase, this sentence just struck me. Today I remember that God's original plan for humanity, this is in the Garden of Eden, God's original plan for humanity was not to achieve great things or strive for success. It was a simple invitation to walk and talk with him each day. I like that. That was what Adam and Eve were told to do. That's what they did in the Garden of Eden before it all went wrong. Simply to walk and talk with God. Now we carry the weight of the world. And the danger is we turn to chocolate and wine and booze because we struggle. Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. And I believe that's changing my life, and I encourage you to do the same. It's a simple thing. You don't have to get the app. Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. As the band come up again, I wonder whether, can we just be quiet for a moment and reflect? And if you're struggling with the weight of the world and you want some help, then just say that phrase, that sentence under your breath. Jesus, I give everyone and everything to you. But during the last song, if you'd like someone to pray with you, then as Will gave us a great story earlier, didn't it, of some of his life changing because he put his hand up. If you'd like someone to pray with you because you're carrying the weight of the world and it feels too much and your glass jar is just about to crack, put your hand up, please, and one of us will come and pray with you. We'll just stand near you and pray. So would you like to stand if you're able to? And we'll ask the band just to lead us in our last song.